Welcome to JackHorny.com show.
Okay folks, I've been planning doing this little thing for a day or two. I just wanted to get all the facts together in my mind and make sure I wasn't being incorrect. Now, there's a report in the BBC. It's the Spearmint Rhino strippers fighting for the right to strip. Some so-called feminists, remember, when we talk about feminists, they tend to be mainly white, middle class, slightly well-off women. And my argument is, from my experience, are always the anti-working class. So I put that in, I say that now just to, because this story seems to back up my claim. So in this story, for some reason, these feminists go into, from the, I better say who they're from. It's some website or something called Not Buying It, who are against porn, blah, blah, blah. Now, for some reason, they felt they have the right to go into a strip club and film women without the consent. Now, the first thing is, I think that might be illegal. If I did it, I think quite rightly you'd call me a pervert. I mean, so I don't understand why these women are sort of promoting this activity. That seems odd. I mean, what are you going to do now? If a bloke goes in and films women in a strip club, or let's say they go into a swimming pool and film women in a swimming pool, or anywhere, are they going to just say, oh, well, we're doing it because we're feminists? Because, you know what I mean? Right, now let's explain why there's a danger there. A lot of these strippers are not sort of people who want to be known what they're doing, because they're doing it, they've got a private life, and unlike models who don't mind, well, that's the definition, you know, if you're doing porn, you don't mind being seen, and your family knowing everything, and your probably boyfriend, husband or girlfriend or whatever is quite cool with it. So the dog's just come in, she'll be making noise in the background, no problem. In this case, and in fact what's quite interesting was, I was watching the clip on the BBC site again. Ella, I don't know if that's her real name, but that's what she's down as, states, and I'm going by, I mean, I know that many do this, so I have no doubts to state she's not telling the truth. She states she's doing this to fund a degree. Now, I know a lot of women who do stripping do use it to fund degrees and stuff. Some do it because it's easier than, say, going into a supermarket. It's less degrading. You know, they can work when they want, because often they're not employed by the clubs. They sort of, I mean, they might have changed it, because I think there might have been a rule change, but often or not, the situation, what I believe happens, what I've been told is, you go to these clubs and you can work whatever days you want, and you keep all the tips. Whatever people pay you, you keep, though you have to often pay the club X amount of money to be there. So you might have to pay £20, and in London I think that can go up to a couple of hundred. But the base of, like, the London ones is that some of the girls can get tipped 60 grand, I've heard, in one night. Now, the downside of these clubs is, well, in the past there's been a lot of them. So you've ended up with, I was told some of them have 50 girls working for them. So if you've got a town where you've got 5 clubs, do the maths. It's also, I'm not sure they're as popular as they once were. I think people got bored with them. Hence that some of the girls now who used to do stripping go in to do webcam work or modelling, because it's quite honestly a lot easier. I mean, it's not always the case. I've heard that you can make a lot of money. Sometimes I think when it's quiet, you make pennies, if that. So it's not always the best thing to do. I mean, I was always thought Fridays would be best to Saturdays, but There was a girl I knew, and she had a master's degree. She did it because she enjoyed posing. She wasn't doing it because she needed the money. She was a musician, and she did it. I mean, she was an academic, really. I mean, she was very smart, very bright, but she just did it because she enjoyed it, made her feel good. And no, she wasn't abused, blah, 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 because I knew her very well. She's moved back, I think she's moved abroad now, bought a place abroad. But she said to me, she did it on she found Thursdays were the best. Now, this girl wasn't your big boobed girl. I mean, when she said she was going to do stripping, I thought, ooh, I don't want to put her off, but I didn't think, I expected that you have to be masculine with big boobed, and she was fairly flat. But, you know, it was, I didn't want to say, you ain't going to make anything, but I think because she had sort of a girl next door look, she made a fortune. And so, but you see, what happens is a lot of these girls are sort of working class, but not all are. To be fair, some are middle class. So let's go back to the story. Like I was saying, Ella's doing this in the clip to support studies. So now we've got a situation where these feminists, so like I say, tend to be white, mainly white, middle class. They seem to, and I've always argued this, hate the working class. And here we are. They stopping, in this case, trying to stop this girl from doing a degree. I mean, that does sound a bit opposite, you'd imagine, to a feminist, wouldn't you? You'd think they'd encourage women to be educated, but obviously one could imagine that they're happy for middle class women to be educated, but I don't think, I suspect they want Ella to be educated because, Christ, she might actually buy a house next to these nice feminists, and that'd never do. We have to make sure that they stay in their council estates or wherever, don't we, if we're middle class. That's and that's the notion of these feminists, so-called. I mean, they're opposite to what they've set claim. Now, there's a second thing here to notice, folks. They're only going after female strippers, aren't they? Are they going after male strippers at the same time? Because we know there's a lot of male stripping clubs about. I'd be interested to know how many they've gone after. One would suspect 0. So there's the sexist element. One would argue. One would suggest that they only have interest in one side of things. They're not bothered about men. Which, if you really believed, if they were really truthful, and they really believed women or stripping was harmful, surely they'd be demonstrating at male stripping and complaining about the women who are going in to see them. But no, they don't seem to do that, do they, folks? So there seems to be a bit of sexism there. So when feminists say that, talk about equality, we can cross that out, can't we? We can say, no, you proved no equality there. And let's see. So there's a reason. By the way, we don't even know what they're doing with this footage. What they go? What is this? I'd say, I mean, if I did it, you'd call me a pervert, and I think I'd have the police called on me. And don't forget, in England, and in probably most other countries, the law states, and I'll be very clear on this: if it's a public place, you can film somebody, right? So if Ella was stripping outside, fine, you can film her. But indoors, in a private place, such as your house, or in this case, a strip club, you can't film somebody without their permission. All the footage, therefore, wouldn't. I don't think. I'm not sure even could be used as evidence against anything. If it's shown to anybody, I'm not quite sure that'd be legal. And who are you showing it to? I mean, this is absolutely disgraceful, because people might find it. Let's put it this way: supposing these girls, I mean, in some cases they claim that women are abused. Now, so if I've come from an abused background, so if that's the case, say they've left an abusive husband, stroke boyfriend, or possibly an abusive girlfriend, stroke wife, and they've gone stripping, and then the person they've left finds this tape, sees them, and they use that as an excuse to kill them, then you've got problems. And that's the reality. I mean, I find that absolutely disgraceful. Now, you might be saying, "Oh, I'm a male and I want to go see strippers." You know something? I have never been to a strip club. Zero interest. I mean, obviously because I shoot content for my site, some of the models have stripped or still strip, so I know the models. That's fair enough. I'll hold my hands up to it, but I have no interest in going. Just like I have no interest in watching football. I mean, I have no real desire to pay or even not pay a female or male to stand in front of me all sweaty and dancing. I mean, I can't think of anything more pleasant. I mean, that's not sexy to me. Now, this set for. Oh, by the way, let's just point something else out. According to one the sorry, I'm just pressing play there. According to the object site, Dr. Sasha Ratkoff. I don't know if that's pronounced correctly. By the way, I don't know what a doctorate's in. I'll have to look that one up. It might be medical or it might be something else. Bit like Claire Dines. Dr. Claire Dines is, I think it's sociology a doctorate's in from, I think, Manchester. You know. So anyway, they don't always be impressed because of the title doctor. It might have nothing to do with, you know, anything. She could be a doctor in art. We don't know. Well, I don't know just yet. I'll have a look. And what was it saying? Oh yeah, according to the object site, she set that up. Now, the object thing, I don't know what's going on there. People have said they've left it and it's all changed hands. I'm confused. It's a bit bizarre. But again, object's an anti-porn thing. And remember, this is not buying it's an anti-porn setup. So when they're trying to pretend they're doing this for the women's benefits, no, it defeats the. You can't really say that because we know the background. You're anti-porn. You're anti these things because you see it as wrong. Now, in the BBC thing, this doctor, she seems to put forward quite a weak argument, saying that she's forced to film women. Well, I'm sure that men or even women who film women in showers could claim they've been forced to do it. I mean, everyone's got an excuse. Again, I mean, to me, I'm not sure if this is criminal. I do think it might. I don't know. I don't know if filming people without the consent, stripping, is criminal or not. I mean, I know there's the new laws about what is it, where if you film your girlfriend and she doesn't consent to it and you put it on the internet, then you can be in trouble. So I don't know if that'd be the same situation, but it doesn't really. I mean, if they really thought about it, they wouldn't be doing this because it gives the idea to people that it's okay to film women naked without them knowing. I mean, she even goes on to really, for some bizarre reason, she associates people going to strip clubs to the Harvey Weinstein thing, which is a bit, well, you know, you might as well just jump to anything. I mean, it doesn't. I mean, on the Twitter feed, I was looking. No one seems to support them. Women and men seem to. I mean, and it is women as well, seem to be against what they've done. I mean, they seem to be quite appalled. Now, if you don't like stripping, that's fair enough. I mean, I wouldn't go to a strip club. It doesn't interest me. Again, football doesn't interest me. All these things don't interest me. And, you know, maybe crappy things have happened. Maybe some of the girls have. Because I wouldn't be surprised if, you know what I mean, if someone's offered them 50 quid or something, that they might have given the bloke a kiss or something. And if that's their choice, unless they've been forced, and I don't think by the sounds of it, even in the clip, I don't think she's stating, this doctor, I don't think she's stating any of these women are forced to do anything. People can leave. I mean, there's more, you know, if one club, you don't like one club, go to another. People are not, and it's not just, I mean, she's suggesting that this stripping place is somehow seedy and people treat badly. Well, people treat badly in possibly every single company or business, but no, that's not true, is it? What I mean is, people are treated not very well in all sorts of businesses. And I'll give you an example, folks. One that might surprise you. Years ago, I became a student nurse. I did it for 2 years. Now, I quite enjoyed it, but I ended up having to leave while I was kicked out, and I'll explain why. When I started, the system, it might have changed now because I'm always changing it. You do 3 years training, and if I remember, you do sort of half the year at uni studying, then half the year on the course. I mean, not on the course, on placement. Now, I was doing learning disabilities. It sort of split up into 4 groups. If I remember, let me think of what they are. Mental health, childcare, adult, and learning disabilities. That's the sort of 4. So I started off going to the place I was put was part of the hospital, and when I got there, it wasn't the hospital itself. It was a building. Is a satellite building the correct term? I don't know. It was sort of part of the hospital, but sort of not. And the sister, the first thing she said was, day one, I don't like male nurses. I don't agree with them. I've always had female student nurses. Then she found out I was dyslexic, which was, you know, they knew from the start, because you fill in the form if you've got anything, and I put down I was dyslexic. She hated me for that. So from then on, she also did criticise me. The other sisters on the place, they were lovely. In fact, they were all lovely, except for this one person. Now, the problem is, her and my teacher, I'm not sure what you call her, at uni, I think they were friends by my impression, almost best friends. So they sort of stuck up for each other. So I used to go in getting abuse every day virtually from this woman. Hated it. Became really depressed over it, to be honest. I was always pleased when she had the day off. She, instead of me learning anything, all she had me doing was cleaning. That was it. I mean, it was pointless me being there. Hated it completely. It was just, I just found it pointless being there, doing the training, just going in cleaning. She even objected because I hadn't moved. She's claimed one day that if I really wanted to be a nurse, I should have moved closer, you know, sell the house and move. Yeah, whatever. She also moaned that, well, she just moaned and moaned anything I did. Basically, I'd go in, because it was learning disabilities, they'd go out in the morning, and I'd start in the morning. So the place was empty, no one there. So all she had me doing was cleaning. That was it. I had to go in all the rooms and clean. Well, you know, I'm going to learn a lot of nursing skills doing that. I mean, it was completely waste of time. So that went on for 2 years, and in the end, I basically had a breakdown. I mean, my head went fuzzy, and this was 2 weeks before Christmas. No, sorry. On my placement at the time, if I remember, I had 3 weeks at Christmas holiday each year, because you didn't have like the summer holidays students normally have. If I remember, I think you didn't. It wasn't like being at uni where you have a nice long summer. Now, I went in 2 days before, and absolutely just the stress of the harassment, I just had a breakdown. So I phoned in sick. Came back after Christmas, and was told, "Where's your sick note?" And I said, "I was only off 2 days," because I was. And this is where this is why I felt, this is why I started to realise how nasty people were. My tutor decided to claim that, because I hadn't, this is how they fiddled it. She said, "Oh, you've been off 3 weeks though, because they included the Christmas holiday." Now, maybe, even today, I would have never assumed that you'd have to take a sick note in, because you was still, because I was off on holiday. I mean, what, you know, in what regards would you do that? Of course not. It was nonsense. It was sneaky, vile. So they had me on suspension because they said I was stealing off the NHS. Even though in reality I was only off 2 days, because 2 days later I was on holiday anyway. So why would I bring in a sick note for the holiday? I mean, I didn't even know the place was even open for that 3 weeks. I mean, it was the most bizarre thing I've ever heard. By the way, did I complain? Yes. And I was told, well, first of all, my tutor said that she'd bring charges against me. She said because she'd said that if there was this abuse, legally I should have reported it. So, you know, she was threatening me with the police, basically. Criminal record, warning me not to. Then later I decided to complain. And guess what? I was told, because I was a student, this is the NHS, they said, oh, we can't do anything. Then in recent years, I thought I'd try again because of, you know, the whistleblower thing. Guess what? I actually have emailed virtually every MP in this country. And guess what? I got a few emails back saying we'll investigate. I haven't. You see, this is what they do. They cover everything up. I'm not the only one who's experienced this, by the way. I've heard other people in the NHS have it all covered up. Get shoved down, you see, because they don't want to embarrass the NHS. No one wants to make out anyone in the NHS is bad. So when we talk about these things, remember, it's people experience crappy things in different things. I've experienced crappy stuff. I became quite ill with it. For most people who know me, know for 6 months I was really depressed because they suspended me for, I think it was 7 months before they decided to get rid of me. Oh, and by the way, there was a girl on my course who didn't do any of the coursework, but because she was a girl, they let her off. Her excuse was her boyfriend had cancer, even though she told everyone he didn't. It was a joke just to get off it. It was well known he didn't have cancer, but because she was a girl, that's fine. So, you know, when crappy things happen to a lot of people. And it has it's so remember, folks, that if these women are abused at this strip club, they can just leave. It's not a communist country where you can't move jobs. They can move if it's so bad. And I'd imagine if it was bad, they would move. I mean, I know women who've gone to some strip clubs and they're just not had enough money from them, so they've left and found other strip clubs. And again, I would never go to one of these clubs. It just doesn't interest me. And in fact, I suspect in time that they'd fold anyway, because I think the interest will die. I mean, it's a bit like the male strippers. There was a time they seemed to be talk about male strippers and women going to them. Now, I suspect they still have people go to them, but they don't seem to have the same interest that they did have. In fact, to be honest, I suspect that a lot of strip clubs, if they were left alone, would end up like they did in America in the early years, end up more of comedy places. Abbott and Costello, after all, started off, well, according to the wiki page, started off, and other things I've listened, in what they called a burlesque club, a strip club in America. They used to put on comedy acts, and I didn't imagine that's what had happened in England. I'd imagine they'd develop into other things, other forms of entertainment. But yeah, if I'd question this, folks. Why haven't they gone after the male strippers the same way? And this is why I'll go back to my beginning statement was these feminists tend to be mainly white, female, middle class who hate the working class. And to me, this is just an anti-working class thing. I suspect if all the strippers were middle class, they wouldn't be bothered. They say, oh yes, it's marvellous, it's educational, they're doing it in artistic value, which is what they tend to do. If they were dancing on stage, you know, ballet naked, you don't see anyone demonstrating against them. You know, if it's all middle classly done and it's all art, they claim it's arty, that's one thing. I mean, but you can go on YouTube. There's they don't even pull those vids. It's full of the ballets naked. Or if you go into an arts place, as long as it's middle class and they can go, oh, it's jolly arty, they'll leave it alone. It's when it's working class, because you see the attitude clearly. I mean, this is the impression I get. I mean, maybe I'm wrong. They don't like the working class women or working class men. They think everyone working class is garbage. They hate them completely. They think they know better. They want to tell. I mean, this is the irony. These are women telling other women what to do and think. Now, if I went up to a woman and told her what to do and think, you go ballistic. You say that's sexist. It's not even out of date. No, I mean, I don't, because when we say things that's sexist, it's out of date. We pretend that 50 years ago, 100 years ago, men thought differently. They didn't even then. They were still quite liberal in those days. I mean, you know, we have this garbage argument that men were 100 years ago were scumbags, not caring. Well, you know, most of the people, my grandparents brought me up, and all the old men, they were the kindest people you've ever met. I've never, I mean, in my life, I've never met a bloke who I'm of any age who I'm considered really nice. I mean, most blokes I meet seem nicer than women, to be honest. You know, we have this pretense that women are the nice ones. They're usually the tough ones. It's why I get a bit cheesed off as well with the old, well, with the feminists, because they pretend that they're sort of strong when they're talking about being weak and victims. Well, sorry, the dog's jumping about in the background. Well, in the reality, women in England during the Second World War, they faced their husbands being killed. They had to work in quite harmful conditions in factories, you know, really tough conditions, and they had bombs falling down on them, and yet they cope. They're the strong ones. The women today aren't. They're just going, oh, we're victims, we're weak, we're weak, we're weak, we're weak, we're all victims to men. You know, they're pathetic. And I mean, that's the sense, I think, with this group, the feminists. They're trying to make out, they want to try and pretend that it's men victimising women again. Oh, we're weak, we're weak. Oh, we're victims. Oh. You know, and in fact, I know women who go, I know a lesbian who enjoys watching female strippers, so sorry, it's not always men who go to these places. But as I say, I wouldn't go. I have no interest in strippers. But it's like I say, I have no interest in football, can't stand the stuff. And I certainly don't like boxing. I mean, I won't complain. I mean, there are things that you should complain about. Fox hunting, the what do you call it? Bullfighting in Spain, the dog eating thing they've got in China, wherever, and other countries. These things, yes, you should be complaining about. Those are the things that people should complain. And oh, hang on, sorry. Ooh. Sorry, the dog's just chewing everything up. Give up, little monster. You know, you should be complaining about dog fighting and things like that, and making sure it never happens. I mean, like I always say, my argument has always been, you should be able to do anything you want as long as it doesn't hurt other people, stroke adults, stroke children, or animals. And, you know, that's why I don't care what your religion is, as long as it doesn't harm animals. The point you harm animals, I will object. I object to your fox hunting. There's no need for it. It's vile. If you go, but I mean, the shame on the Spain. I mean, I wouldn't go to Spain now on holiday because of I wouldn't want to, because I'm against the bullfighting. Was one of the most hideous things going, especially when there was a video recently where the bullocks are crying. And yeah, I don't get a damn when the bulls might turn around and manage to hurt or even kill one of the bullfighting people. Because I have no, you know what I mean, it's not, why would you want to do it? What a disgraceful way. And I'm also against boxing the same way. But I'm not, I mean, in reality, if you want to box, you're human. You're not forced to do it like a bull. If you want to make money from getting brain damage, that's up to you. I mean, and yet, again, the feminists don't seem to be bothered about women getting beaten up in the ring. I mean, that's bizarre. You'd think they'd be objecting to women fighting, wouldn't you? Yeah, I see them actually promoting it. They're going, yay, yay, women getting paid to get their heads kicked in and brain damage, yay. Oh, women getting the boobies out and not being harmed. Boo! You know, that's the bizarre thing. But anyway, that's it, folks. Oh, I haven't finished off, have I? Because what's interesting was, in their defence, this is coming up. I was looking at the Twitter feed, and in the latest, the let me see if I can find it. They post this YouTube vid from somebody who's called Mel, M-E-L, who states that she worked at Spearmint Rhino, Sheffield. Well, the YouTube video sounds very much like an actress. I don't know if it is. I mean, if she isn't an actress, she should do, because she sounds like she does voiceovers. Sounds like a Radio 4 presenter, if anything. I mean, we've only got out their word that she did work for them. Or if it's not stooge. I mean, let's say she did work for them. She left. Fine. I mean, the whole point is, no one's forcing these women to stay. No one's forcing... If I was a female and I was working in one of these clubs and somebody offered me 50 quid to touch his ding dong, well, I mean, obviously it's against the rules. That's the first thing. But let's say I could get away with it and the manager weren't looking. It's no choice, isn't it? I mean, this doctor says it's close to prostitution. Again, so what? Let's say they all are, let's say these clubs are full of women who've decided by choice to touch for 50 quid, give touch blokes on the ding dong. I mean, what she was describing in the video, I think she was saying that she's seen a little bit of women touching themselves. Well, so what? You know, in front of the blokes. I mean, it's oddly full-on sex. I mean, I don't think she even describes people having full sex. The closest I think is she describes it as possibly, and again, I don't know how they filmed it, because I presume it's in the dark, and these lap dancers, I think the chairs are sort of set up, I presume, to sort of bit of privacy. So how they've got a camera right in front to show it, I don't know. I mean, obviously it'd be interesting to see the footage, but then again, it'd be an abuse of these women's privacy, so I wouldn't want to see it. But let's say somebody has offered... oh yeah, the other one was they swap phone numbers. Well, you know, so what? I mean, it's just... They're not exactly crimes of the century, are they? If you said, oh yeah, women were being taken into the back room and having the ex kicked out of them, and they were forced to do drugs or something like that, yeah, quite rightly, I'd be backing that up, supporting you guys. But what you've described isn't that dramatic, is it? You really think if a woman's or a man is offered a few quid to touch somebody's ding dong and they choose to do it, if they do, I mean, we've only got your word for it anyway. I mean, this might not have happened, and like Ellie says, I mean, I don't think she'd be going public if she did it, or if she believed this was true, because she's doing a degree, and I presume she wants to go on and get a good job now. Last thing she's going to want to do is affect the job prospects, is she? I mean, the fact that she's happy to go public shows something, considering it's the same club. Now, the bottom line is it's women's choice if they do it or not. Just because you don't like it. I mean, this is what this doctor is pretending to do. She's pretending that she has the voice. I mean, this is how she's talking. She believes she has the representation of every single woman. Well, she hasn't. You know, I'd back her up if she was trying to ban animal sports where animals are hurt. That you've got, that'll back you up on, because the animals have no choice. You know, that's the thing. Or animal experiments. I mean, I hate animal experiments. Don't believe in them. And if she were even anti-boxing, female boxing, I could understand all boxing. I mean, the reality is she hasn't gone after males, has she? She hasn't gone after... well, I presume she's not. I don't want to be done for slander. Maybe I'm incorrect there. Maybe she has gone after, as equal, into clubs where males are dancing naked. I'll be interested to see that. I haven't seen any tweets where she's doing that. It seems to be she's trying to suggest that these clubs are all male run. In fact, I know some clubs, I know some are run by women, so that's cobblers in itself. But I mean, it just sounds like the aim is just to close them all down, make it all go underground. I mean, for me, actually, she's doing me a favour. I mean, this is the thing. I'm actually foolish, really, to do this. I should be defending her, because the more these clubs close down, people spend money online, such as my website and sites I promote. So perhaps I'm a bit foolish here. You know, they'll go online and do it, or whatever. I mean, yeah, maybe I should just say, yeah, she's correct. I am a bit foolish. You see, I'm biting my own hand off here, really, in that regard, because she's doing me a favour. You know, I should say that. Thank you very much. So, you know, in some regards, this doctor, and anyone who wants to close down strip clubs, yeah, you're doing me a favour. Well done. Making me money. Thanking you. And that's all that'll happen. You're just moving from one area to another. It becomes nonsense. Oh dear. I mean, this pretense that for thousands of years porn and stripping have been going on, and suddenly in the last couple of months it's going to affect people. You'd have thought by now we'd have seen some side effects, wouldn't you? I mean, again, let's put it this way. Porn, 0 deaths in the last 5,000 years. Stripping, people going to watch it, how many deaths? 0. 0, 0, 0. I mean, this is a nonsense. Most people go to these, do go, I would presume, go because they're on stag do's or something, and got a few quid and the girls benefit. And if they didn't exist, they'd just go on holiday. I mean, a lot of times flights are so cheap, you'll just go abroad, so it's not going to really stop it. I mean, to be honest, flights are so cheap. If you close down all the strip clubs, girls like Ella probably just jump on the plane and do it abroad. You're not going to do. All you're doing is slightly inconvenience them. I mean, I'm sure they'll be able to get cheap flights. I mean, I knew one bloke who was just going backwards and forwards each weekend. He had just a basic job, but he always got cheap flights to see his girlfriend. And in fact, it turned out cheaper for him to go abroad than it was for the taxi to get to the airport. But that's all that happened. No, they'll do it underground, and then you really will have problems, because you'll just have people bypass it by setting up some sort of private club. And it's a bit like the escorting thing. They bypass that by, instead of calling it prostitution, they just went escorting, and instead of paying for sex, they just say pay for the room. That's how they got around that. So you just they just play with the games, don't they? I mean, these days, you see, if you were to, you know what I mean, I doubt if anyone who's in the sex trade would charge for sex. They just say, right, just pay for the room or pay for a drink, which will cost you 300 quid. And that's how you get round it. You haven't paid for sex. That's what these people, and it just pushes everything underground. You make people less safe, because all that'll happen is you'll just, if there's a demand for this, there's a demand for strip clubs, all you do is you end up pushing it all underground, and then that's where nothing's licensed, nothing's known what's going on, and things get dangerous, and then you have criminals come in. And that's the problem at the moment. I don't think, I might be wrong, I don't think criminals do run the strip clubs. But if you push it underground, it's like in America. What happened when they banned beer and alcohol? Criminals took over. They made them rich. It didn't stop people drinking. It reduced it a bit, in theory. I mean, they do say that alcoholism did go down, so there was a bit of benefit, so I'll give you that. But in reality, it just encouraged criminal activities. I mean, that's the thing. I mean, you put up price of beer. I mean, I'm always looking for, I mean, this is the thing. If Scotland puts up beer and alcohol more expensive than England, people just drive across the border, don't they? Doesn't never make sense trying to make something. Even, I mean, it's a bit like me. I'm anti-drugs. And what the anti-drugs people say is usually correct. But I also recognise the fact that people have, it's their choice. And you make it criminal, it pushes it underground. You know, even though I mean, if you listen to my stuff, I don't drink, I don't do drugs, but I see no reason in banning it, because I see it pushing it underground. And that's the thing. Banning things doesn't usually work. It usually makes things worse. I mean, you know, drugs are supposed to be illegal, and yet they're easy to buy than a pizza these days. A mate of mine who used to buy weed used to joke that he could get weed quicker than you could a pizza, because he'd phone up and it'd be delivered within 10 minutes by someone in a car. Or it was usually by scooter. I mean, everything that's illegal you can probably get in England. I don't think there's anything you can't without real ease. It doesn't do anything. All it does is keep a few middle class people, which is usually the end result. It usually tends to be the middle class who pretend, live in la la land, that banning things makes things better. Especially on the left. The left believe quite a lot in censorship. They believe the more you ban, it cures things. You know, if you stop somebody speaking, then racism goes away. The left tend to be deep down racist and sexist. Just that they pretend they're not, because they use politically correct words. You know, because they don't really have any. I mean, white middle class. It's like this. It's like the anti-porn lot or feminists. Whenever you see them clubbed together, whenever you see the left wing, just look how many white people are there. It's usually mainly white, and see how many working class are there. Zero. You never see any left wing. It's always the middle class, and it tends to be, and they always look down on the working class. It's the presumption that the working class are stupid, morons, racist, disgusting, shouldn't have a voice, shouldn't think, shouldn't have any say, and that the middle class know best. And that's what we have in this case. You've got this doctor who knows better than this woman, this Ella. This doctor's got her doctorate. She's happy. You know, she's done what she wanted, but she doesn't want another woman who's working class to have a degree, because that's what she's doing, and other women. So instead she wants them to probably just work in the supermarket. She'll be happy about that. I mean, she's not complaining about women working all hours in the local supermarket for minimum wage, is she? I mean, that's not a problem. No, she's more upset because they're earning decent money in a strip club and getting a degree, and that's against her belief. It absolutely disgusts her, you see, because, you know, like I say, they might move out. See, it makes the middle classes, especially the left, they're like the charity cases. They like working class to stay in council estates. That's what they want. That's all they're talking about. Build more council houses for the scum. You know, make sure they're nice and mouldy. That's what they're happy with. Fill them up, and then we can feel better. It's our charity, and then we can live our nice big houses and feel good about ourselves. And that's the case. You know, they never talk about, oh yeah, let's encourage the middle working classes to get better, because then they can come like us and live in our state. Never heard them say that. And again, we've got it here. We don't want this nice, we don't want this working class girl because, you know, she's not one of us. Make sure she loses her job back there, and then she can quit a degree course. She can go on the dole where we like her, and then we can see her go to a food bank and then blame the Conservative government. Yeah, that's right. But anyway, that I just thought, and yeah, I'm a bit cheesed off, because this is all I ever see from the anti-porn lot. The way they look down upon the working class, because they're scum to them. They don't, and the way they look down at other women, the way they think they know better and they have to tell other women what to do and think. I mean, if that's what you call feminist, it just seems it's nothing to do with equality. That is it. Not one thing. It's so basically you can conclude feminists who are, like I keep saying, mainly white, always middle class, do not like the working class, look down upon them, and believe they have the right to tell other women what to do and say. That is what the message is. They clearly are saying, we know better for these women, because after all, got to remember, not one single woman at this strip club or any strip club's been forced to work there, which is almost the impression they're giving. They can leave, they don't need to start. Right? That's a fact. It's choice, it's personal choice. If there's a crime going on, then they can report it, right? That's the simple thing. If you're a stripper and you've been assaulted, which if they believe that, then they can go to the police. It's very easy to record. They can, okay, they might be naked, but I'm sure there's a way they could get offending to record what's going on. Even if they can't, they can make a complaint to the police. It's for them to. It's not for this woman to decide for the women, because she can only decide for herself, like I can. So like I say, I'm dyslexic. I can only speak for myself on that. I can't speak for other people who are dyslexic. That's not my right. No one's asked me to. And I don't believe I know the views of other people who are dyslexic. I don't know the other views of people who are male. So I don't represent every other male. I don't represent any other single male. I only represent me. Other people like football. I don't like football. And that's the case. I mean, I'm into animal rights. And I'm trying to become vegan, but I'm vegetarian, trying to become vegan. But I only speak for me, and all these things only speak for me. I defend others and I'll criticise others from my point of view. But I don't ever. It's like I don't ever speak for people in porn. I only speak for myself, my own views. That pisses people off sometimes. But that's who I am. It's why I get a bit irritated when I see people on TV talking about the porn industry. And I'll criticise them because they're talking it from their view, but they're pretending they represent the whole community of people who do porn. You should never represent other people, only your view. And maybe if people have given you permission and you've talked to them, then maybe you've got their view. I mean, I can't speak for even my friends because, they can tell me something. It might not be true. I always tell them off sometimes because sometimes I say, is that really the truth? Because sometimes they can tell me stuff and it's their interpretation of events and it's not always true. And that annoys them. I've got a best friend who's always getting annoyed with them because she says, oh, you stick up for the people. And I say, well, you don't always, your interpretation isn't always true, especially when I'm there and I've heard the facts. And again, in this case, feminists should not represent other women. They should only represent themselves, their minority view. And feminism is basically a minority of, as I say, mainly white, middle-class women. It's a minority. Very few women support it. And I'll repeat the story. Because I always say this story. When I was a kid, I asked my granny, because she had her own business, if she was a feminist. And she said no. She said, feminists never represent the working class. It was something that shocked me then, and it's something I've never seen anything to dispute that. It always seems to be that women have always worked to a working class. They worked down the mines, dying. They worked in factories, in cotton mills, dying. In fact, even children did. And the middle class people never, all the ones that are there, they still don't care. Oh, and by the way, there's also another interest, and this is slightly going off, but it's also interesting when we talk about the middle classes, their view of the working classes. You might notice, even today, they don't really condemn the rape gang culture, the Asians, those minorities. And I'm not having to go at all Muslims because 99% of Muslims are decent, probably even 99.999%. But because the girls who got molested were working class, doesn't represent them. But if a girl who's middle class gets molested, you'll see the difference. They get very upset. A woman, an MP, who might have somebody call her love, they'll go ballistic over. A working class girl who's molested by a group of men, she's working class. But boy, oh boy, incorrect use. I mean, I saw an interview today about, they were talking about Boris Johnson and the woman. I don't know if she was an MP, but she said, oh, it was disgusting. He called me love. Oh, he called her love. Oh, no, sorry, that's wrong. I'm lying. Called her dear. Oh, dear. Oh, dear, dear, dear. That must have been shocking to her. It might have been love, I forget. It was so irrelevant, it doesn't matter. But gosh, wasn't that shocking, folks? Shocking. Oh, she must have been in shock. And what a disgrace. I don't give a damn, mate. You can call me whatever. You can call me love. I mean, where I am, it's quite traditional to call men love. I mean, I wasn't aware of this until, and it did at first, I thought, well, it's a bit odd. But then you get used to it. I'm not in shock. I don't care. You can call me anything you want. I'm not bothered. There's no name you can call me that I'm going to be that bothered about. But, you know, some of these feminists, get called love. Oh, get called dear. Oh, it's shocking. Oh, I'm a victim again. You're much braver than the women from years ago who were sat there with bombs coming down them in World War Two, where they were facing daily, but they didn't know, and World War One, where they might have woke up next day and found that their husband had been killed, or the house has been, or they wake up and find the house had been bombed, or they're having to go out and work in factories, in really bad conditions, building things. They weren't brave like you, because you've put up with people going, love. And yet, none of you lot are talking about how brave these women were. I am, because they were working class. You didn't care about them. You don't. When you talk about women getting jobs, you're interested in, what is it? You're not interested in sort of the working class jobs. I'll give you an example. Let's say 50% of the women in this country drive. Well, you'd imagine there'd be 50% of mechanics, wouldn't you? But there isn't. There's very few. I bet you've never seen one. I have. I've saw one. And when you see one, it does make you realise there isn't any. But do you ever moan about that? No. You moan about women in 50% MPs. All middle class jobs. That's the reality. Oh, and if someone dares call you love. So I'm going to make sure, and I will do, I'll try and do this on purpose. I'll try and make sure I call women love and dear, just to wind you all up, just to show you. Because I know it winds so many feminists up, and I don't have any respect for you. And by the way, if you ever say, do I have any respect for feminists? No, I don't. I really don't. I have as much respect as you have for other people. I have as much respect as you have for other women such as Ella. That's how much. In fact, I probably still have more respect for you, the way I talk to you, than you do for Ella, because you look down on her. I won't tell you what to do. I'll wind you up and call you dear and love, because I know it's so petty, but you'll make a big deal of it, and then you can go on and say, oh, being patronised and misogyny and all that, because that's the defence of the feminists. Whenever they're wrong and proved wrong, they just say, oh, you're a misogynist. I can't even say the word now. And that's misogynist or something. That's standard now. Sexist. You say it doesn't affect me now. I couldn't care less. You can call me that all day long, people do, and they think I'm bothered. No, I couldn't care less. It just makes you look stupid, because it means I've won the argument. Hip hip hooray, I've won the argument and you're really stupid. But you think you're clever because you copied and pasted something from another feminist. As if I haven't realised. You might reword it slightly, but that's all you do. Because you've got no argument. And it is. Whenever I get criticised, it's not. But no one. They don't say, "Oh, your argument's wrong." They say, "Oh, you've spelt it wrong." Oh, that's because I'm dyslexic, And I don't care. You can spend all day pointing out spelt words wrong. It doesn't bother me, because I always will. I'm surprised I can spell at all. I've got a spelling age of like a 2-year-old. I struggle to read and write because I'm dyslexic. Yeah, I've got a disability. But because you're on the left, you think it's funny to mock people with a disability. Oh no, I've just proved to you again that you're not very nice people. But you see, that's the way it goes. Anyway, that's me done, folks. Bit ranted on today. Dog's chewing everything up. But it's because I'm slightly irritated. And I'll probably cover this again and again. Because no doubt these feminists will carry on telling other women what to do and think, because they've got the right to in their minds. They think they're changing the world by taking away women's rights, and that's it. You're not actually giving women rights, you're taking them away more and more. You're doing what you've complained about for years. You've said women don't have rights, now you're taking it away from them. You've been moaning that women don't get money, the same pay. So you might try to find, you're taking away jobs where they make money. You're wanting them to be on the dole. Yeah, very clever. Congratulations. Anyway, my rant over.